Okay, cool. Sorry about that. We're having some pretty gnarly technical difficulties, but let's just start here again from the top. So today, one of the big questions we get, we get a lot of folks looking out this way, and property taxes comes up a lot, and as it should. And there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So I just wanted to make a comprehensive breakdown, full talk through video of what CFDs are, what Mello-Roos are, how they affect your purchase price, how that works with possibly an HOA, and how that's going to work or be factored into your tentative pre-approval. So, the question is, why do some $700,000 houses cost about $500 more in different neighborhoods? So today we're breaking down Mello-Roos, property taxes, CFDs, differences, similarities, and if you are looking in the Inland Empire, that is 100% something that you need to watch out for.
Yeah.
So with that, Allison, you run a pretty good sized TikTok channel. That's where I know you get a lot of your traffic, a lot of questions, a lot of folks that we're talking to on your behalf. They're
Yes.
coming from there. You're doing a ton of videos on new build homes. They get a lot of attention once we get to the point that we're talking about monthly payment and, like a 1995 build versus a 2025 build, that
Mhm.
payment is quite a bit different. What kind of questions are you getting on your side?
I think the number one question I get on the new builds is, "Are there Mello-Roos?" And when I say, "Yes, there are, this is what the effective tax rate is," a lot of people are confused on what the difference is between, like, the special assessments or what the taxes are overall. Like, if you say it's a tax rate, they think Mello-Roos are completely separate. And so it kinda seems like every time I'm explaining to them how Mello-Roos are connected to their taxes and that it is an overall rate. So when the average person walks into a new build community and they're told, "Oh, it's a 1.9% tax rate," that sounds really small. But when that includes your Mello-Roos, any kind of special assessment, or the new builds may call it that too, they kinda get confused on what that means. But basically, the biggest question I get is, "Are there Mello-Roos on a home that's a new build in the Inland Empire?"
Okay, and the short, easy question to that is, if it's a new build in the Inland Empire and it's an actual tract home, it's not an independent developer.
Mhm.
Yes, there's a handful of smaller developers where they're putting in, anywhere between 5 and 10 homes. Those are kind of hit and miss or touch and go.
Yeah.
Those almost will typically won't, depending on the year of the tract. There was just a couple in Moreno Valley over the last year where it was, like I said, in 8 home tract, put in the middle of some homes built in the 70s, there's no Mello-Roos, so your taxes were actually really low.
Yeah.
When we're throwing that term around, the actual amount, most of Riverside County, most of Southern California is going to be about 1.2%. Actually, it's about 1.18, but let's round it up. New builds, most of what we're showing, 2% is the going rate.
Yeah.
So, what that means for you, when you're taking that eighth of a different or 0.8% difference, if you're looking at a $600,000 house, that could be anywhere between 500 and $600
Yeah, per month.
per month. So as far as purchasing power, this is kind of the nerdy side of it. As far as purchasing power, when you're saying 500 to $600 a month, that's about $80,000 in purchasing power. So
Yeah.
when you are looking at new builds, if you're looking at something for 600,000, if you're going to go look at resale, prior to, let's just say, 2010, to kind of keep things cohesive and organized, that $600,000 you could qualify for up to about 680 on the resale side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's kinda what I've been, like, explaining a lot, and that's kinda why I wanted to do this live, because I think that a lot of people don't realize how much that affects their purchasing power and their monthly payment.
Yeah, and another thing I keep coming across too is I'm seeing folks that they don't understand there's a difference between CFD or Mello-Roo and
Mhm,
HOA. Main difference on that, one is a tax, one is a private fee for actually living in the community. The
mhm,
CFD, the Mello-Roo, that will expire. It's called a sunset date. Usually it's between 20 and 40 years. It will expire at some point. So, if you're going to be there that long or you're buying something, built in 2010, those sunset dates will probably be somewhere between 2030 and 2040. HOAs almost never go away though. I've seen a lot of them have gone up probably about like $5 or $6 the last year. I'm seeing it in a lot of the communities we're showing lately.
Yeah, I think that that's the other thing is that just because it's not a new build doesn't mean it doesn't have Mello-Roos. That's another thing I want to mention. Um, that if the home was built 10 years ago, meaning 2015, it could likely have Mello-Roos as well. It's not just for new builds.
Hmm. So yeah, so rule of thumb, if it's built after 2000, there's a good chance it does. Not all of them do. There's a handful of communities, looking around out here that if it's built after between about 2000 and 2010, you're kind of hit or miss.
Hmm.
It might not. After 2010, you're almost guaranteed that it's going to have that Mello-Roo or that CFD.
Hmm.
So, and then, one of the questions that I dove deeper in because I was curious, where did these come from? Why was it not a thing? Why is it a thing now? In 1978, I'll share my screen here. So, in 1978, there was Proposition 13, which passed, and what it was referred to as the People's Initiative to limit property taxation. Trying to get my mouse to cooperate here. People's initiative to limit property taxation. So property taxes have always gone up. The reason for that is because home values have always gone up. So what they did in 1978, they capped it. So if you bought your house at back then it was probably $60,000, property taxes would reassess. The way they wanted to protect affordability in California is they limited that cap to where it could only adjust by about 1 to 2% a year. What started to happen though was that funds coming in were starting to be limited after about 20, 30 years of this. Because prior to that, like I said, property taxes would reassess and readjust as you went. This capped it. The intention was to keep housing affordable. So what was proposed by this gentleman, Henry Mello and Mike Rowe, was what if we just put a bond on the builder when they came in to build these communities. I haven't really seen any prior to 1990. I think the oldest house I've seen with actual Mello-Roos was early 90s, 92. It was a 92 or 93 build. And at the time, it was a 20-year sunset date. So I
Hmm.
sold this house in 2026, or I'm sorry, 2016. The bond was showing up, but it was falling off. So it was a lot of confusion. That's what brought me down this rabbit hole at the time. But Henry Mello and Mike Rue, if you want to write your congressman about how much you hate these people, they're to blame for it.
Yeah. Mm.
I tried to pull a picture of them, but let's go to Google and see if we can pull pictures of these yahoos. I'm gonna assume that's him, but sorry. So, but their solution to getting builders to come back in the market and start building again, or inspiring new build tracks, was to put these bonds on the new homeowners, and they attach as Mello-Roos. And the original sales pitch was they'll expire after a certain amount of time. Yeah, your taxes are higher, but a lot of builders at the time weren't able to build anymore because it just wasn't affordable for them anymore. Property taxes were a lot lower than they used to be. So that's a little background into that. Okay, so one of the things that I hear a lot too from people is they think that those are going to last forever. Like I said, there's a sunset date on them. There's actually, if you know the property and on the real estate side, this is what we look for when people are looking, and say they're looking at like a 2005 build. We're in 2026. We know that a lot of them are going to expire in 20 to 30 or 40 years. How long are they going to last? I found a few websites, and once we get into once we get into what you're actually looking for, we can actually go into the tax side and pull what the CFD number is. So these are a lot of Southern California. As you can see, a lot of them, a lot of stuff's going to be expiring in the mid 2030s. I guess that's what you call it. So Temecula has a few 2034. And when we go into new builds, we can find out what that sunset date is. Sometimes or oftentimes the new build rep won't know, but once we actually look at the CC&Rs in the community, we can figure that out.
And so, question for those that don't know, what does sunset date mean?
Sunset date is going to be when it expires. So the house is built or the community starts in 2022.
Mhm.
Those CFDs will start then. So if you buy the house, you're going to pay those CFDs. CFDs and Mello-Roos are the same thing,
Mhm.
just different name for the same thing. It's an extra tax. So when you're actually looking at a tax roll for a home or a neighborhood, you'll see the property taxes, and then underneath, actually, I'll pull some up so I can show you what we actually look at. But it'll be broken down. You can pull that CFD number or that Mello-Roo number, Google it, and then it'll show you all the information on it, how much is getting paid, and the way they work is it's either going to be square footage or the type of house, or it might be a blanket one. So if you want to get really nitty gritty with it, you can actually pull a map of the neighborhood, look at the three or four different floor plans, and then it sometimes it's different for each floor plan. Sometimes it's the same. But take that number, put it. I'll pull one up right now. I'm waiting for my computer to connect. Put it in Google. Go through all the paperwork. Sometimes it's tedious. Some of them are super easy to find. Usually Paris's are easy to find.
Mhm.
Some of them are a total pain in the butt. So I'll just go to new listing here. Actually, I'm going to show this screen. So when you don't know what you're looking at or what you're looking for, it's a pain. But I've been doing this forever, so I've been looking at these for a long time, especially since so many neighborhoods out here. So what I'm going to look at is year bill. These are just new listings around the city of Moreno Valley. So let's look at this one on Lawless. This is a 2004 build.
Mhm.
So this one may have some. This one may not. But for the sake of this exercise, we'll just go to the tax roll and take a look at it. And when you are looking at new builds, or if new builds are what you're interested in, that's one of the first questions when I'm taking my potential buyers out to look is what are your property taxes here? What are your HOA? I used to always ask about sunset date, but a lot of them honestly don't really know it
Mhm.
until we actually start getting serious. Then they'll look it up, having some connectivity issues. So bear with me here. Okay, so this is a 2004 build, like I said. Um, these are going to be your taxes here. These are your special assessments. These are annual property taxes. So what we're looking for here is you're always going to have these ones here, like stormwater, storm drain, municipal. This is going to be for trash. But what we're looking for is this big one here, CFD 91 USD Moreno Valley. I know because I live in the area. That's actually a school district tax. That's going to happen on some of them. Those ones actually get voted in. So in South Moreno Valley, the 19555 area, there's going to be a Verde tax and a CFD USD, which is the school district. So this one is 1,100 a year, and so special assessments here. The total of the special assessments is going to be 1,500. 1,100 of that's going to come from this one CFD. So these the landscaping one, the lighting, the storm drain, the water cleanouts, those will always be there. This is going to be the one that throws off your debt to income. So when you do the math on these ones with your actual property taxes minus the CFD, your taxes are going to come out to about 1.2%. When you add this one in, it's going to bump it up. So this is purchase. The assessed value is 446. Their actual taxes are 6,600 a year. Tax rate in this area is going to be about 1.5%. So now I'll show you an older home and how that actually compares. And this is the really boring nitty gritty backside of what we're looking at when we are sending properties, and we have to watch out for these things.
Yeah, but this is such a common question. When people want me to send them properties, they ask me a lot about the taxes because they know with like a new build, it's Mello-Roos, and I typically explain that with older homes, there can be Mello-Roos too, and trying to explain that, I think a lot of people don't realize. So sometimes having that knowledge before you're starting to look and you know what you're looking at can make it a lot easier to determine what your purchasing power is for a new build versus a resale home.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I want to do with this is just give clarity on what the backside of this looks like, because it's easy to say like, oh, this area is 1.8, this area is 1.9. It's not 100% true, and each area is going to be different. So if you, like for instance, we were just at in Paris at there's the Poltes and then the KBs right across the street. The
Mhm.
Poltes were 1.95, the KBs were 2%.
Yeah.
So it's that little 0.05% of a difference. Doesn't
Mhm.
make a massive difference, but it's a little different. But you know what my point to that is, you can't just say this general area or this zip code or these cross streets or this. It's going to be by builder, and as you know, I think we've shown a lot on this channel, your TikTok and Instagram, is there's a lot going on. There's certain areas where you have five different builders going at the exact same time within 5 minutes of each other. Those
Yeah.
tax bases, they could all be a little bit different. So
Mhm.
your 600,000 in KB is going to be different than your 600,000 at Polte.
Yes, exactly.
So okay, this home here, this is yeah. So this home here is a 1990 build. So I don't believe there's extra assessments in this area. Let me switch over my screen. And this is something that your real estate professional would have access to. This is called Realist tax. You can pull property taxes from the county. On our end, you know, this is part of what we pay for and do. So we have access to this. If your realtor doesn't know how to use it, you can show them this video. Okay, so like I said, this is a 1990 build. This one doesn't have any crazy special assessments, but you still do have those. Sorry, my mouse is out of control. You do have those special assessments still. Every home's gonna have them to some degree. On the last one we showed you, it was about $1,200 a year. This is 250 a year. So,
Mhm.
but like on the other house, okay. So you still have the water clean out, storm drain, these miscellaneous Moreno Valley ones, landscaping. These are probably for lights, and the EMW. This would be a personal one on their property. That would be a delinquency tax. It was only 25 bucks. But as you can see on the last house, it was a $400,000 house with about $6,600 taxes, 382, and their taxes are 45.89. So that's about 1.15, 1.2%. So as you can see here, it makes not a massive difference, but it does make a difference. You're going from 1.2 to 1.5. Now the huge difference is when you go from a 1.2 to 2%. So let me see if I can find a 2% house just so I can show you what those assessments are going to look like.
I was just gonna say, I feel like I want to
They
show what
might
the
not have tax information.
prices would be.
Yeah, these ones don't have tax information yet. I think there's a 2017 build that might have some. Okay, so 2017 build right here. Let's see what this guy is. Oh, I wasn't sharing my screen. Sorry about that.
Uh-oh.
What a knucklehead. Okay, so this is a 2017 build. Okay, so this is what's going to throw you off right here. This is a Valverde School District CFD or Mello-Roos, $3,000 a year. So as you remember on the last house, we were showing about, I think it was about $1,000 a year, $1,200 a year.
Mhm.
This one, $3,300 a year for the taxes. So, but this is a big reason why the other house had all these exact things here, just did not have this one. That's what's throwing you off. That's what's going to put you closer to that. They're at 449, yeah, right around 1.8, 1.9. So on a $450,000 appraised house, you're about 8,300 a year in taxes. So now this difference here of $3,000 a year, that's about 350 bucks a month. That's going to be what changes your pre-approval. That's what's going to take you from that, let's say 600 to 575. So super exciting, super fun stuff.
It is a really common question though that it's a lot of information, a lot of really small numbers, the 1.2 to 1.5 to 1.9. It sounds so minor, but it really does change your monthly payment like a good amount. And I think that it's important, and I think a lot of people are confused on that piece because not always is it for a school district, like the Verde tax is for the school district, but it can be all kinds of things that are tied into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we'll do next, we'll play some numbers. I'm not a big fan of Zillow just because whatever, but I actually do like their mortgage calculator. So okay, we'll plug random numbers in here. One thing to watch out with Zillow mortgage calculator is sometimes it'll default the rate to something crazy. Sometimes it's 7%, sometimes it's 4%. It trips people up. And these are all tentative numbers. These aren't exact. So let's just say a 5% down payment, $675,000 house. We'll just say rates are 7%. Why not? I covered last week. We're closer to about 6. So okay. Actually, let's make it as true as we possibly can. So if you're setting up your mortgage calculator on Zillow, because they get a lot of people, they just kind of take the default value at face value. It's never right. But just for entertainment purposes here, let's say $600,000 house. That's pretty average right now. 5% rate. I'm sorry, 6% rate. $50 HOA, $2,000 home insurance, property taxes, 1.2%. Payments right around 4212. So let's call it 4200. Okay, so now when we take that rate, just let's put it at 2% to keep things all even and equal. It goes up $400. $4,600. 4,200 to 4,600 at 2%. Now let's put it at 1.8. See what the difference is. Lots of numbers. Dropped it by about $110. So the 0.2% is about $110. And for reference, our starting point, 1.2% is 4,200. Pretty typical for new builds. Jumps it up by about $400.
Yeah.
Make sense?
I mean, definitely. I think that there's. So, how would that relate to your purchasing power? Like, if you're pre-approved for, let's say, $500,000 to keep it even and normal, how would that affect it? Or 600,000, since that's what we're working with. How would that affect what your affordability is?
Or I think I lost you.
Oh,
We back?
yeah.
Okay. What was the question?
So I was just saying, we see how much the monthly payment is affected. Now, how do we show what the purchasing power? How is the purchasing power affected? If the payment goes up $400 a month, what does that increase or decrease, your purchasing power?